so I think, perfect. Let's get going, inshallah. So, assalamu alaikum, welcome. And we'll get started today with Brother Mahmoud and an opening dua.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma kullu ladhi yakul hujjat ibn al-Hasan salawatuka alayhi wa ala abahi fi hazi sa'a wa fi kulli sa'a واليوم وحافظا وقعدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه عرضك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد. I don't have the translation on hand, but
that's okay. Thank you so much for that. And then I believe Brother Ali Zaidi is with us. There you are. Are you? Thank you so much for joining us and for being willing to share poetry with us as we celebrate the birth of Imam Ali alayhi salam. The floor is yours.
Thank you for including me. And thank you, Ali, for inviting me. I'm actually very happy to go after fellow Bostonian. So Jazakallah to I'm Ali Zaidi. I'm based in Boston, also an attorney. So given it's Rajab, Ali has given me a bit of creative license to not maybe stick to the strict ways we do poetry, say, within a center. So I'm actually going to be doing mankabats in the form of Qawaalis. I'm Amir Khusro, known as the father of Qawwali in South Asia, and also the father of the traditional Hindustani classical music, including sitar and tabla, was also the poet of incredible poetry about the Alibat and Imam Ali. And one of his most famous pieces is actually named after the Hadith of the Prophet, which is kind of an anthem for Shias, which is called Man Kunto Maula. So I'm going to try that. It's a very difficult Qawwali, so I'll see how I go. And I hope I'm not screaming into this microphone, which is right here. Okay, let's start off. अफलाक सिलाई जाती है, सीनों में छुपाई जाती है, तौहीद की मैं सागर से नहीं आँखों से पिलाई जाती है. जिसने देखा मर ही गया, तेरी चश्म से आह में है जादू. गैर का धोखा मुझको न देना, तुझ में मैं और मुझ में तू. आहे मन कुंतो मौला, आहे मन कुंतो मौला, फहज़लियुन मौला नला, फहज़ अली मौला. हरे दर दिले दिरदानी तदानी दर दिले दिरतदानी तदानी दर दिले दिरदानी. हम तुम तना ना नाना तना ना रे, हम तुम तना ना नाना तना ना रे. या लाली या लाली या ला ला लाली, या ला 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 या ला या ला 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 या लाली. ओ मन कुं तो मौला मौला अली मौला मौला अली मौला मौला अली मौला. बने सूफी जज्बात में बहने वाले, बने सूफी जज्बात में बहने वाले, कलंदर बने इश्क में जलने वाले, कलंदर बने इश्क में जलने वाले. कुतुब बन गए रंजो गम सहने वाले, कुतुब बन गए रंजो गम सहने वाले, और वली बन गए या अली कहने वाले. अली मौला मौला अली मौला. दस्ते इलाह क्यों ना हो शेरे खुदाली, मकसूद हलता है शहे लाफताली. बेदम यही तो पाँच है मकसूद कायनात, खैरो निसा हुसैन व हसन मुस्तफा. अली मौला अली मौला मौला अली मौला मौला अली मौला ہر قلب علی جسم علی جان علی ہے، مجھ بے سر و سامان کا سامان علی ہے، ایمان کی ہو تلاشی و ایمان کی کہہ دوں، ایمان تو یہ ہے میرا ایمان علی ہے مولا، علی مولا مولا علی مولا مولا علی مولا، کہے جس کو نبی من کن تو مولا، لہم کا لہمی نبی کا وہ وسیع المختصر، یوں بھی ہے اور یوں بھی، جو کعبے میں ہو پیدا اور شہادت پائے مسجد میں، خدا کے گھر کا مالک ہو بشر، یوں بھی ہے اور یوں بھی، علی مولا مولا علی مولا مولا علی مولا، من کن تو مولا.
Ya Ali, subhanallah.
Thank you.
MashaAllah, that was really wonderful.
Thank you, Ali.
I had one quick one if you have time, which is about the same length, if that's okay.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Do we have time? Yeah.
We have time for celebratory things.
Yeah, okay, good.
Yeah.
So this one you'll recognize. It's actually the most famous Qawwali. It's traditionally sung in Sufi shrines, and I'm actually glad Dr. Hassan Abbas is here, because I've been to many of his lectures, so I'm very excited to see his face, so he'll be able to maybe tell you a little more after this. But I'm going to recite this very quickly. Shah Mardan, Sher Yazdan, Quvvate پروردگار، لا فتح الا علی، لا سیف الا ذوالفقار، ہو لال میری پت رکھیو بھلا جھولے لال نے، ہو لال میری پت رکھیو بھلا جھولے لال نے، سندری داں سیون دا سخی شہباز کلندر، دمادم مست کلندر، علی دا پہلا نمبر، سخی شہباز کلندر، دمادم مست کلندر، ہو لال میری ہو لال میری، پیرا وے میرا پیر سب دا ولی ہے، لقب اسد اللہ جیڑا نام علی ہے، نام علی بیرا پار لگا جھولے لال نے، ہو نام علی بیرا پار لگا جھولے لال نے، سندری داں سیون دا سخی شہباز کلندر، دمادم مست کلندر، علی دا پہلا نمبر، سخی شہباز کلندر، دمادم مست کلندر، نام حسین کے میں بلہاری، پھرتی ہوں میں در در ماری، من میں بسی ہے میرے کرب و بلا جھولے لال نے، ہو من میں بسی ہے میرے کرب و بلا جھولے لال نے، سندری داں سیون دا سخی شہباز کلندر، دمادم مست کلندر، علی دا پہلا نمبر، سخی شہباز کلندر، دمادم مست کلندر، ہو لال میری ہو لال میری.
MashaAllah.
Beautiful.
MashaAllah. Thank you, Ali.
Thank you
So,
so much.
Pardon.
On that note, that's a hard act to follow for you, Salma, but you're up next to welcome our members and to share a reflection about Black History Month. It's all you.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Thank you so much for those of you who are joining today for the first time. I see some new names, Zainab, Ali Al-Sarif, Aisha, Masuma. I'm not sure if I'm missing some on the screen, but thank you for joining us for our AMBA General Body Meeting. I'll give a little bit of an overview of AMBA. AMBA is the American Muslim Bar Association, and we are a space for all Muslims, Shia, Sufis, Muslim minorities to really use their power as aspiring lawyers and attorneys to speak truth and justice in the United States in a way that hasn't been done before. So our whole purpose is to sort of build power in a way that is authentic and that is inspired by the Ahlul Bayt peace and blessings be upon them. We have 5 committees. We have a policy committee, advocacy committee, mentorship, education committee, and a legal resources committee. And you'll hear from some of the committee members later today. And if you want to get involved in one of those committees and some of the work that we do on the ground. Today is a very monumentous occasion in the birth celebration of Imam Ali alayhi salam, and as well as Black History Month. And before I get into my remarks about that, I'd like us to take a moment of silence to recognize that this is also the death anniversary of Ahmed Arbery. So inshallah, let's just take a moment to commemorate his death. Ameen, inshallah. Hope you read a Fatiha for him as well. And so, you know, it's interesting that Imam Ali's birthday is being celebrated in this community of American attorneys. And I think the reason that we chose to do this is because for all of us involved in AMBA, spirituality is and recognizing that we have to work for the afterlife as much as we have to work for this dunya, which is a saying of Imam Ali: work in this world as if you'd live here forever, and work for the hereafter as if you die tomorrow, alayhi salam. And so this is exactly, I think, what many of our members try to do, to create this balance between our secular work as lawyers in America, as well as our spiritual work as being deeply rooted in the Ahlul Bayt, and ensuring that our spirituality is rooted within our secular work. And there's no better character, subhanAllah, to follow than the Prophet, peace be upon him, and Imam Ali alayhi salam. And so it's beautiful that we have this example, and it's beautiful that we're celebrating his month in Black History Month. What's interesting is that, you know, when Iblis refused to bow down to Adam, saying, "He is made of clay and I am made of fire, and fire is superior to clay," he failed to see that the inside of the human was put the heart, the light of guidance, the seed of prophecy, and the honor of divine vicegerents in this world. That is to say that the first sin ever created was essentially a racist discrimination on outward appearances. And today, you know, humans are guilty of this sin of Iblis as well, discrimination of believing in superiority of one against another. And particularly in America, we are plagued with white supremacy and superiority over Black peoples and Black bodies. And it is within our tradition to highlight this type of discrimination within the stories of the Quran, and to really recognize that we have these examples that try to tear down this discrimination during their time, these examples within the Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And, you know, Fatima M. Knight has an article boldly claiming that Imam Ali was Black. Kana Asma alone, and you know, many of the imams were known to marry the Habashi, and so the imams must have been very dark and dealt with their own form of discrimination. Furthermore, Islam is African, and Africa is Islamic, and you know, Islam was meant to go there. Islam was spread. It was sent to Africa at the same time it was sent to Medina. And in God's infinite wisdom, it was meant to be held and protected, Islam, by people of dark skin rather than Europeans. And so we must protect that and not give too much credence to outward, transient position of worldly power and cultural domination held by the West. We, I think, sometimes often center Islam in Middle Eastern narratives and now Western narratives, but there is, you know, there's rich tradition in Africa and within the African American diaspora here of Islam, and really loving Imam Ali and the Ahlul Bayt and doing tawassul and zikr and really connecting with the family of the Prophet. And so much of the Prophet's lineage descends and exists within Africa, particularly West Africa, East Africa. And so as Muslim Americans, you know, Islam, Black History Month is essentially Islamic History Month and vice versa. And so, you know, inshallah, during this month, we can have these moments of reflection and really think about what can we do to end the discrimination that is in this world and the racism that exists, particularly in the country that we live in, and how we can look to the example of Imam Ali, inshallah, to do that. So with that, you know, have a blessed Imam Ali birthday month and happy Black History Month, inshallah.
Inshallah. Such a good reminder and such inspiring words. Thank you so much. Yeah, beautifully said. So we have another esteemed guest among us, Professor Hassan Abbas. And Muhammad Ali, I didn't know, I wanted to just would you like to introduce him?
Yes, actually, you know, before I do, I wanted to read an excerpt from an article by a young friend of mine that I think will transition nicely into Dr. Hassan Abbas's talk, if that's okay. You know, I was going to share some remarks, but I always find that when I start doing it and I start reading something, I feel like the original words of so many people in our community are just so much more effective. It's better to sometimes just read their words. I find myself in that position often. There's a beautiful article that a friend of mine who's 15 years my junior wrote on Malcolm X just a couple of days ago. And I'd just like to read an excerpt. After I'm done, I'll post the link in the chat for y'all because you really should read it all. It's really a beautiful, beautiful piece. The title of this article is Malcolm X and Macaulayism, the Intersectionality of Epistemological Oppression. Last year, on the anniversary of her father's assassination, Ilyasa Shabazz was giving a lecture about her father's philosophy and what he was desperately trying to accomplish in the last days of his life. She began her talk by quoting her father by saying, "Only a fool would let his enemy teach his children." She then went on to elaborate who this enemy was, and she too mentioned that it was this enemy that her father was preoccupied with in his final year. This enemy, according to her, was not a person. It was an educational policy known as Macaulayism, which was enacted by the British Empire in order to eradicate indigenous traditional forms of education from their colonies. Malcolm X understood that if the oppressed were to ever attain true justice, if the shackled were ever to shatter the chains holding them back, they had to firstly break the white man's hegemony over knowledge and education. While Western education primarily serves the interests of capitalism, increasing the profits of the wealthy, the objectives of traditional education, especially in the Islamicate world, are diametrically different. Western education strives to produce good laborers, whereas traditional education strives to produce good human beings. This is so because ethics and morality fully soak the fabric of traditional education. Math and physics were taught without neglecting the metaphysical essence of things. Conceptually, the literature of the West is not at all analogous with that of the Islamicate world, for the latter's belles lettres are intertwined with etiquette, with refinement, with morals and humaneness, as all these words, including literature itself, are united in a single word, adab. These lessons on life are lost to those whom Western education is imposed upon. However, this imposition cannot be treated as prohibitively necessary. These impositions can and must be walked back, and it all begins by reintroducing our POC communities with our native literature. Malcolm X asserted that people don't realize how a man's whole life can be changed by one book. This entails some effort on our part. We must work on improving literacy in our communities. We must encourage language acquisition. We must break the cultural and economic barriers separating the streets from the scholars. Scholars who understand the necessity of reversing Macaulayism must come down from their ivory towers and must engage with, as well as serve, the streets. These were the undertakings of Malcolm X in the last days of his tragically short life. By establishing the Muslim Mosque Incorporated and the Organization of Afro-American Unity, he was rekindling the ties of the oppressed of the world with their ancestral forms of knowledge, liberating them from this didactic tyranny. May we have the courage to follow his path and the tawfiq to learn from his wisdom. With that, I'd like to introduce Professor Hassan Abbas. I think these last words from Shabir's article really explain what Professor Hassan Abbas, I think, has done with his new book, The Prophet's Heir, The Life of Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib. It is to give us access to the beauty of the rich tradition of the Islamic tradition, which talks so favorably about Ali ibn Abi Talib, and to really bring it not just into our communities, but also be able to share it with a broader audience in our neighborhoods, in our larger communities, in our society as a whole. Hassan Abbas is a professor and chair of the Department of Regional and Analytical Studies at National Defense University's College of International Security Affairs in Washington, D.C. He is also a senior advisor at the Asia Society. Previously, he served as the Distinguished Quaid-e-Azam Chair Professor at Columbia University and a senior advisor at the Belfer Center for Science and International Affairs at the Kennedy School of Government, Harvard University. He holds a PhD from the Fletcher School of Law and Diplomacy, Tufts University, an LLM in International Law from the Nottingham University in the United Kingdom, and an MA in Political Science from Punjab University, Pakistan. He regularly appears as an analyst on international media and writes pieces for various leading international newspapers and academic publications. Bismillah, Hassan.
Thank you so much. It's truly an honor and a pleasure to be with you. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to also talk about the book. And these are the days which are the most appropriate ones in terms of spirituality, in terms of the association of these beautiful days of Rajab and Shaban and Ramzan with the legacy of Ahl Bayt. What I plan to do is, and some of the thoughts that we have already heard are so moving and so inspiring that you might have seen me. I was looking on the side because I was constantly trying to look for so many sources that I was hearing from you. For instance, from Qawaalis, this is, by the way, the book, and I was constantly looking at putting in some stickers to refer to some of the thoughts from the beautiful recitation by Ali Zaidi, if I got the name correctly, about Qawwali. And so few people know what Qawwali is, from where the word comes in. It comes from call, as he rightly mentioned. Call is what you say. And that call is what they call Man Kunto Maula Fahaza Ali Maula. And that's the essence of Amir Khusro, the essence of not only mysticism, but in terms of the musical mysticism, if I may call that. But these are just initial thoughts. What I'll do in these about 10 minutes, I promise I'll not go over, is to tell you a little bit about the book, also about some of the striking things that I found, and what are a couple of takeaways, some of the very new things that I had not heard before. And having lived in Pakistan till I was 30 years, then having lived in England for a few years when I did my law, LLM from Nottingham, then of course last 20 years, I just completed almost 20 years in US, 10 years in Boston, a few years in New York, then here. I've attended lectures of so many scholars, but when I jumped into this project, which I'll briefly talk about why and how, I have been amazed. I wish I could have shown you, you can see books behind me, but there are as many books in front of me. And those are still with some stickers, some charts, because so many new things I found. I wish the book was not this much, but maybe 10 times this. And I had to make a decision of how will I summarize all this and which things to mention. And I decided I'm going to write a story. I read so many books, and all of you would also on Imam Ali and on other great personalities because we love him. However, for a Western reader, those things may not be as inspiring, all of those. If there are 10 different instances on how Imam Ali looked at justice, those will be great inspiring words for us, but not for an ordinary person. So the biggest challenge was, and how this was different, my book is that this is a story. Secondly, just very shortly about how this came about, because I'm a political scientist. Most of my works are on Taliban and on extremism, profiles of militant groups, nuclear bomb, how Pakistan made the nuclear bomb and why. So this was something different. This actually, I partly at least give credit to, you'll be surprised, to the Daily Show, Jon Stewart. He invited me, he picked my previous book, Taliban Revival, for his show. This was the turning moment. At least my 3 daughters started taking me more seriously once I came on that show. That was really he kept me for 2 sessions. To cut the long story short, I went through a journey which is both scholarly and also spiritual, and I learned in the process that there is so many more things to know, both for Shias and Sunnis. And why I say both Shias and Sunnis, I made a commitment early on in my note on sources that this is a book which is meant for a global audience. My primary audience is non-Muslim, then the major Muslim groups, and maybe the Shias come at the end. The reason being that Shias have, by and large, comparatively more awareness about Ali. And what I learned was that all the major ideas that the Shia Muslims talk about are also mentioned in a striking fashion in Sahih Muslim, in Sahih Bukhari, in Sunan Nisa'i. In fact, the best book, I wish I can show you that in my hand. Luckily it's closed. The best book on Imam Ali is this one, The Special Characteristics of the Leader of Faithful Ali ibn Abi Talib. You'll be surprised who wrote it. This is by Sunan Nisa'i. These are the 7 books of Hadith on the Sunni major central sources. And Sunan Nisa'i had, Ahmad bin Shoaib al-Nisa'i had gone to Syria, and he had learned that during the times of Muawiyah, there was so much negativity that was projected against Ali. And he said, I'll collect all these statements of the Prophet on Ali. Ultimately, he had to go through difficult time because of this, but this is a central, not only authentic, central Sunni source. I'm repeating myself. I have not found a better work on Ali than this. I was lucky. I sat actually during 3 or 4 Ramadans ago. I had a chance to spend last 10 days of Ramadan in the shrine of Imam Ali. So I sat there, read it, and as short it is, it took me 10 days because on every point I would stop and I would say, well, if Sunnis believe that, then why are Shias different than Sunnis, and why Sunnis are not Shias? Because it was so obvious to me. So that's my first point. Shias need to know Sunnis better, and Sunnis need to know Shias better. I come from a mixed tradition. I'm a 3rd generation, 4th, where a Shia married a Sunni. And the tradition continued. So in my own home, I'd always learned, okay, what is the Sunni view on this? With my father and mother, with my grandfather and grandmother, one of them was a Sunni, the other was Shia. And me and my wife also initially belonged to 2 different sects. So I had debated this, discussed this always. And what I learned, that if I have to look at Ali, what I figured out is I would project him not only as a warrior, well, he was a great warrior. Without his bravery, Islam would not have survived. There's no doubt about it. Without his knowledge and wisdom, there would have been no tradition of learning and scholarship in Islam. However, if I have to today say which 2 or 3 words you will look for Ali after reading, I can't claim I've read all his biographies, but I would say it is in dozens that I have to go through, because 7 years I was dedicated to this job. This was a labor of love and my lifetime project. I would say, number 1, I'll say Ali as a unifier. Second, I'll say Ali as a person who was a symbol of tolerance. Third, I would say Ali was a selfless man. And I'm not saying it just to sound as, okay, I'm trying to bring Shias and Sunnis together. I am amazed at these 3 characters that come out from his personality. I had decided to talk about something entirely different, but some of the very beautiful thoughts from all of you, and also Salma, you were so right. And I was hectically looking for that quote, that many of the Imams, in fact, were not only Black, but also they married among Black women. That's how, of course, the next generation was Black. The tradition, and I had a chance to go to Morocco, to the shrine of Idris. And I was amazed. I had never heard, being originally from Pakistan, but I've been to every major country in Middle East. I claim, I think there's no shrine of neither an Imam nor a big Sufi that I've not had a chance to go. I'm writing a separate book on pilgrimage. But when I went to Morocco, I had no idea what is the background. There were 12 Shias who had built the modern Iraq. And they were Moroccans, and you must have seen some of their tribal names. That's where some of the women in the household of Ahlul Bayt belong to. And then again, this is partly, I don't know what other word to use, but to say this entrenched racism also in among ourselves, which they'll say, oh, I have always assumed Ali to be always the pictures and paintings of a white-skinned, fair color. How can my mom be black? And this is an entrenched racism that we have kept in our hearts without knowing. So excellent point. And I have discussed this actually in the book by emphasizing this point related to also Imam Ali's. And coming to last point, I'm already taken my 10 minutes. I'll take, do I have 3-4 more minutes?
Of course.
So I was looking at justice on women rights. The first time there was a case in the court of the second caliph, Umar, and Ali was called because the first three caliphs would so often call on Ali for ideas on justice, rules. That's why I'm calling Imam Ali the Prophet's heir, because there's no doubt about he being the spiritual heir, he being also the legal heir, but also the contested part is the political heir. That's the third part. So if I prove 2/3 of the right of him or his credentials as an heir, that's established. But in this case, in Umar's court, he was shown there was a lady who was involved in a case of sexual assault or a sexual relationship, and there was the strictest of the punishments. Normally emphasized, he said, so this is the woman who was found involved in that. We are punishing her. Where is the man? Where is the male? Why is he not being punished? The first time this issue was brought up, for instance, in terms of equality or in terms of, okay, why women are being seen in a certain light, and this is happening even today in most Muslim countries. When they will find somebody to be punished for a certain crime in this kind of affair, it's no one would ask, okay, where's the other partner in crime, so to say. So after these points, I'll just mention two more things. I think with this group of educated lawyers, I mean, if I'll use the word that Imam Ali really stood for rule of law, it may sound I'm using a very modern terminology. No, I was amazed at Imam Ali's lectures and sermons, his first lecture especially, his first lecture, I'm saying his first statement. It started off, and I want to, even if I can read 2 or 3 lines out of it, if I can now find it. I was amazed at his very first sentences, that he was so categorical about rights. From the word go, his first statement was all about what are the rights of the people. And he framed his caliphate not in terms of power or authority or in any other sense, but he started off by saying I couldn't find his initial statement anywhere in one book, despite that there are so many biographies of Imam Ali. But so I had to collect small segments from 7 different books in Arabic and Persian and collected it in one book. But he starts by saying, oh, people, I'm one of you. I enjoy the same rights that you enjoy. My responsibilities are also the same as yours. The stuff that I read from his statements, honestly, if I'll say to somebody in America without telling them this is 1400 years ago, they will think this is Jefferson, or maybe this is Abraham Lincoln or somebody else. I mean, very, very modern person. I've concluded in the book, and with this I'll also conclude, that if Ali was among us today, I think he was a person who would have been saying things which today maybe Bernie Sanders is saying, because equality, egalitarianism, that's what he preached and that's what he emphasized. The very last thing is about some of the travels that I did, and the most interesting was one to Ashgabat in Turkmenistan. I went, and I promise this is the last story. And I've narrated that whole story because I wanted to talk about the legacy of Ali, that how is he looked at today, how he's understood today. And I travel across the world for lectures from my university. We run programs for US partner nations. So Turkmenistan had invited us, and I said to them, well, I had told them firsthand, I was doing a book after this one on pilgrimage, and I told them, I'm ready to come to Turkmenistan if there are any shrines of any Muslim spiritual people. If you can take me there, I'll come. They said, yes, yes, don't worry, we'll take you. So I went there, and I found that close to Ashkabad, now this is nowhere mentioned in any book, and hopefully this will be the first one, a first narration of that incident. There is a small town called Hazrat Ali. So they gave me 4 names, and I said, I want to go to this place, Hazrat Ali. I went there were 3 small mosques. I said, what is this? And they said, this is spring of 2019 that I went. And they said, this is the place where Ali came and lived. What? When was that? And they explained, I stayed there for a day, spent quite some time there. They said his horse, Duldul, is buried here. And then there was a big rock. And they said, if you sit in this rock, that's where Ali used to meditate. And the years they mentioned to me are the years when 3 caliphs were in power. Now I had gone to Iraq, I think 12, 13 times. I interviewed all the 4 Maraji. I met leading Sunni scholars as well. And I'd asked the leading Shia scholars, I'll not name, but think I had interviewed all Ayatollah Sistani as well. One of the persons there, let me say, I asked them, I said, so do you have any history book telling us that Ali went to Central Asia? They said, no, there's no mention in the book. I said, maybe you missed out on something, because then I started doing the oral history. Oral histories, which are about things you interview people from what they come from their families. And it turns out, I'm coming up with a theory that Ali traveled, because he's also the Sufi, the great patron saint of Sufis. In the Sufi tradition, the first principle is that you have to travel. If you're not traveling, you can't be a Sufi. So Ali traveled. And when the head of that shrine, they were all Sunnis, by the way, who were in that shrine. But I sat on that meditation place as well. Maybe I was already into that. I loved the experience. And I asked the head of that shrine, I said, so can you tell me something about Ali that comes to you, because you are managing these 3 small mosques? I've taken not many pictures. He said, yes, Ali was very hospitable from the local tradition we know. Ali would eat very little and always give his food to the others. I said, that's exactly what we know from history. So I'll close with that. I know I mentioned 5, 6, 7 different things, but this book is, I have tried to bring Ali to the modern international audience. And if it was my own book, I would not even ask anyone that please buy it. But in this case, I encourage you, buy 1 copy, 4 or 5 of you read it. If you like it, give it as a gift to a non-Muslim. That to me was the only way we can project our message. I've tried to be above sectarianism in this. Somebody had said, well, the title is sectarian. I said, no, it's not sectarian. It's the Prophet's heir. He being the spiritual heir, there's no doubt even among the Sunnis. The doubt or challenge is about the political side of things. But maybe I wanted the title to be a little provocative so that people read. I have taken double the time that was given to me. My sincere apologies, and God bless you. And thank you so much for this opportunity.
Not at all. That was just a glimpse of work that we're all looking forward to reading. And one part that I'm really looking forward to is, as lawyers, for us, upon reflection, years ago, I realized that Imam Ali alayhi salam was, I think, the only Imam who really had any temporal power among all the Imams, right? And in that sense, it's such a great practical guide for us, his life under the Prophet, but also as a caliph in the Islamic world at that time. So very much looking forward to it. I put the link in the chat. Can you just let us know, is the book available now? It says pre-order, or when will it be available?
Yes, it's already available in okay. Europe and everywhere in UK. On the US side, I was told this will come, website says it will come on March 16th, but okay. I am told it has already arrived here. It is being mailed to all the stores. It should be available anytime next week. Okay. Anytime. So it's available on Kindle already. If those of you who are into those electronic, that's even with one click you can get it right now. But the hardcover, the kind of actual physical book, I think will be mailed next week. Normally they give a longer date, which is March 16, just because of COVID-19. They were not sure if it takes time.
Got it. Yeah.
They want to, but next week physical copies will be mailed also.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much again. And you're welcome to stay with us, but don't feel obligated if you have to run. We're going to continue with our...
all of you, my best wishes, and hope to later on talk to you as well. In just one word, I mean, that's an excellent initiative all of you have. More power to you. If ever in any capacity I can be of any support or assistance to you and your work, I will be delighted. I'll be honored to support you in any way I can. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Hassan Bhai.
Thank you. God bless you. Thank you so much.
All right, so now we're going to move into a segment of the meeting where we give you a little bit of an introduction into AMBA's various committees and talk to you a little bit about the work that each of those committees are doing. And before we jump into that, I'm going to start with Uruj. Is that okay? Who's our social media manager, just so she can talk a little bit about our Black History Month initiative.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I was going to, I think, save some of this for later, but I'll quickly mention what we're doing. So far, we've started a spotlight highlighting some of our members who, for Black History Month, who've shown, great devotion to justice and who have done inspirational work. And if you follow us on Instagram, you've probably seen it. Please share it and like it, forward it on to others as well. We will also be putting out a statement tomorrow, inshallah, for Black History Month, and basically in support of Black-led movements that will reflect or echo the demands of a lot of Black-led movements. So that's what's going on at the moment. I don't think there's anything else at the moment in terms of social media strategy.
Thank you. And I didn't mean to put you on the spot, so thanks.
No, it's okay, no problem.
Okay, we'll start with, committee-wise, we'll start with the Mentorship Committee. Brother Asad, are you here? There you are. So if you could start with an overview of the committee first and then talk through some of the sort of key items.
Yeah, thank you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Asad Hassan. I'm the chair of the Mentorship Committee, and I work on it along with Brother Mahmoud Rizvi, who's the co-chair. The Mentorship Committee, we do three main things at this point. The first thing we do is law school admissions advising. So we put out a flyer and we informally put out the word, and we have a tremendous outreach of individuals who are in undergrad or interested in law school, and Brother Mahmoud's been key in heading off our initiatives to help people with their LSAT, help people with law school admissions. I think a few people have since have been admitted to law school in part because of Brother Mahmoud's advice. So that's kind of the first initiative that we take part in. And if anyone's interested in helping out potential law school students, let us know, or if you know someone who's interested in law school who would appreciate advice, let us know. The second thing we do is we do a formal matching program between law students and attorneys. So we started that off in end of December, I think January. And we're going to continue to hopefully, inshallah, add more people who are looking for mentorship. So if you're either looking for mentorship or looking to be a mentor, please reach out to us. You can email us at mentorship@amba.legal.org. We'll drop the email in the chat as soon as I'm done talking. And then the third thing we do is a series of panel discussions. Every couple of months, inshallah, we're finalizing a date, but we're looking to have an event in March. And we're also looking to sort of partner with different law student organizations and undergrad organizations on mentorship events and efforts. So if you're interested in joining the mentorship committee, like I said, just email the AMBA mentorship email, and we'll figure out a way to get you involved.
Thank you. I think Kulsum's here also to introduce us to the Advocacy Committee. There you are.
Assalamualaikum, everyone. I'm one of the chairs of the Advocacy Committee alongside Inti Aziz. And we, as members of the Advocacy Committee, really focus on publishing statements that are of public, that are about salient issues of our time. They're all, we hope to root all of them in principles of justice, compassion, and equity as emulated and exemplified by the Ahlul Bayt. This year, our Advocacy Committee started the year by publishing a statement and call to action against the continued injustices committed by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. It also coincided with the publishing of the statement, also coincided with the recent 5th death anniversary of Sheikh Nimr Bakr al-Nimr. The statement itself is broad and is divided into 5 issue areas, including persecution of dissenters, journalists, and women's rights activists, the war on Yemen, persecution of Shia communities in Saudi, and the desecration of Islamic heritage sites, including Jannatul Baqi. It is addressed to the incoming Biden administration and other US elected officials. And I think the hope was that we would take this to the policy committee and amplify this issue. The writing was led by our Vice President, Mohammed Ali Naqvi, and our advocacy chair, Intia Aziz. We're also going to publish a statement honoring Black History Month, as Uruj had just mentioned earlier. Our advocacy members, including Iman Bare and Uruj Rahman, and our president, Samar Rizvi, worked tirelessly on this, so be on the lookout for that very soon. And then finally, I just wanted to put in a small plug about our advocacy committee. We're looking forward to publishing more powerful and sincere statements on the salient issues of our time. If there's an issue that is near and dear to your heart, please consider joining our advocacy committee. We would love to work with you in amplifying that issue. You don't have to be a lawyer to join. In fact, we may even prefer it if you're not. Lawyering can sometimes stifle thinking outside the box. So the link to our advocacy committee is in the chat box in just 1 second. And that's it from the advocacy committee.
Thank you. Muhammad Ali, would you like to give the policy committee update?
Yeah, sure. Assalamu alaikum, everyone, again. So our policy chair, Natalia Latif, couldn't make it today, so I'll be giving the updates. Our policy committee currently is 10 members, alhamdulillah, and the work we've been doing most recently over the past, I would say, 2 months now, is encouraging community members to write to their congressional representatives about 2 specific sanctions that were placed on Iran in just the last few weeks of the Trump administration. One was on Al-Mustafa International University, which is essentially the Hawza, a religious seminary where 80 to 85% of international students from all over the world, including the United States, go to study Shia Islam to become religious clergy. The second sanction that affects us is on an entity called Astan Quds Razavi, which is a charitable trust which runs the Imam Raza Shrine in Mashhad, Iran, which is a very popular site of pilgrimage or ziyarah for mostly Shia Muslims, but just Muslims in general. About 20 million people go to visit that shrine every year. So what we're doing is we're essentially at this point educating our congressional representatives that these 2 sanctions affect Americans specifically, and that we ask them to make a statement or urge the Biden administration to rescind these sanctions. So these letters have been sent in the dozens so far, and we've already had 2 meetings, one with Senator Pat Toomey of Pennsylvania and one with Congressman Tom Malinowski of New Jersey. And we have 2 more meetings set up this coming week, Thursday and Friday. I'm just really loving your son doing Salah behind you. And
I'm so sorry.
I'm like so
really
inspired. Like it's reminding me that I have to do Maghrib as well as soon as this meeting is over, mashallah. And we have 2 meetings with Congresswoman Chrissy Houlihan and Senator of Pennsylvania and Senator Bob Casey of Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvanians have been remarkably responsive so far. So we're continuing these meetings. They're going well. We have about 4 to 5 constituents show up to the meetings, and then we have a few of our AMBA policy committee members show up. People are taking turns giving overviews of what ziyarah is. It's very, we feel like it's, this is a sort of a slow process, right? There's a lot of education needed, and it's hard work, it's arduous, but it's an opportunity, alhamdulillah, for us really to start laying the groundwork for more of this type of engagement. And it gives our community members, our policy committee members, an opportunity to exercise their, civic, duties, responsibilities, rights in a way that is educational. We're learning a lot from it. We're getting a lot of feedback from the office staff on how to proceed and how to be effective. So folks want to be involved, you're welcome to join the policy committee. The policy committee is on Signal just because of sometimes of the sensitivities of the discussion. So if you're on Signal, just send me a message. I'll put my email in the chat. If you're interested in joining, we'd be happy to add you, inshallah. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Soma, I'll hand it to you to talk about the Education and Legal Resources Committees.
Inshallah, that sounds great. Thank you. Alhamdulillah, yeah, such great work going on everywhere. Our Education and Legal Resources Chair can't be here tonight, so I'll cover for them and introduce their committees a little bit with the hopes that you'll get involved if you have the bandwidth. So our Education Committee is twofold. Essentially, we try to do events that educate attorneys, and we work on getting CLE accreditation for those events. And we want to make sure that attorneys have, the education they need to continue their learning, but also to ensure that Muslim Americans have knowledge about the law, and so knowing their rights. And that's on our website. I'll send, we have a resources page where we have all of our resources listed, and inshallah, you can share those, look at those, and that's kind of a blend between our education and our resources committee. Our education committee is involved with not only ensuring that people get their know your rights knowledge, but also that the Muslim American community can get the Islamic fiqh knowledge that they've been looking for. So how to write a marriage contract or an Islamic will. Most recently, given the climate we had done a few Islamic jurisprudence type of classes on the idea of khums and charitable givings, particularly as they relate to the intersection of sanctions. And that also relates to our education committee working with scholars. Right now, Muhammad Ali and Ali Tawfiq have been working with a professor that was introduced to us by our advocacy vice chair, Intia Aziz, a professor from the University of Texas, who is helping to kind of craft for us affirmative litigation to try to figure out how we can work with the US government, with the Office of Foreign Assets and Control, as well as in the US judiciary, maybe file a lawsuit to ensure that our people are protected and that we can practice our religious freedoms without feeling like we're going to get sanctioned. And so that's some of the work of the Education Committee. The Legal Resources Committee essentially works to, when we get a request for legal resources from the committee, either in our inbox or directly to the Legal Resources inbox, we just try to get them an attorney to help, whether pro bono or getting them referrals for paid attorney. That's essentially the crux of what Legal Resources does. Within Legal Resources, there's a law firm network that has a different chair, chaired by Brother Muhammad Patan. And that's really that's working to secure us big law attorneys that usually pay, say, $700 an hour for their time, but to give their time pro bono and to use their firm resources pro bono to tack on to lawsuits that are already ongoing within the Muslim American community, just to beef up their resources and their legal writing. And so if you work at a law firm and you're interested in joining the law firm network, I'll send that out as well, those email addresses. And if you know somebody who needs legal support, usually the fastest way is to be part of our official WhatsApp group and ask for it, and somebody will respond. But if not, we have our legal resources chair can go the extra mile to get you the support you need. And yeah, if you're interested in hosting a class or a training, if you have a particular expertise of the law and you'd like to share and you'd like to get accreditation, please use our education committee as a platform, to do this kind of work, to share the education and the legal knowledge you have or the fiqh knowledge you have. And we'd be happy to help sponsor, your kind of class or your course that you want to advertise, inshallah.
Thank you, Salma. Okay, next up, we have an election coming up, inshallah. So I'll introduce Hassan Sheikh. Oh my goodness, sorry about that. Our treasurer, who I think is here.
Assalamu alaikum.
You are. Take it away.
Just wanted to, first of all, thank everybody for their leadership. We have a board that is nearly just shy of 20 people, actually. And each of them has dedicated a very significant amount of time every week to making this organization successful, to building it up. And I just wanted to put on everybody's radar the election that's coming up, which will be in June, inshallah, on a date to be announced. Though the board is almost 20 members, as I mentioned, we will have an election for just the top 4 officers: the president, vice president, treasurer, and secretary. We will be asking people if they want to run as a slate. This is because we have a desire to create a certain proportion that would ensure representation. In this regard, we would be asking slates to have at least half members of followers of the Ahlul Bayt, and then also half women. We think that these 2 requirements of a slate would be really helpful in maintaining the integrity and the mission of AMBA in the years and decades to come, inshallah. And again, thank you all for your commitment, and thank you, the general body, for being here tonight to be with us. If anybody's interested in getting deeper into the organization, I just wanted to mention, since I don't think we mentioned it yet, we have a Slack group in addition to our WhatsApp group. That Slack group allows people to have a little bit more access to what we're talking about on a daily basis. If people are interested in what a committee is doing, we can also have them join one of the groups that is specific to that committee. And then they can be, more plugged into the happenings and goings on. If anybody has any questions about how to join the Slack or get more involved or is interested in the elections, please contact me after. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brother Hassan. All right, so we wanted to leave some time at the end of the meeting to get to know our members a little bit. Those of you who are here, just hear what's on your mind. If you have thoughts about 2021 priorities for AMBA, just a completely open forum. So I don't think we've got enough time to go around and for everyone to do a long introduction. But if anybody feels like introducing themselves, we would really love to meet you. So maybe we start there. I won't cold call. That's not my style. Maybe we need a little bit of warming up.
Yeah, I see Sister Saida is here, an AMBA supporter. Thank you for joining us. Welcome.
Oh, I'm excited to be here, and I was delighted by the discussion and learning more about the various committees and more of the inner workings. And the talk just, it was so refreshing that he chose this topic, and just given his history, even what he shared about his personal background, I think it's going to be a very impactful book.
Inshallah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, inshallah. And yeah, I want to make sure we meet our new members. If you all feel comfortable, introducing yourselves. If I see some new names. I hope you don't mind, Hannah. Hope you don't mind if I cold call them. I want to meet you.
I just want people to come to the next meeting. So
yeah.
That was my only hesitation there.
I know. I hope I'm not. For sure. Well, I'm glad for. So I see a familiar name, Sister Bucktower, who I think has worked with some of our vice chairs and NAMO work. If you wanted to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you guys so much for hosting this general body meeting. This is the first AMBA event that I've attended. I'm currently a 1L at UIUC Law School. I'm so excited to get more involved, inshallah. And I really enjoyed today's lecture by the professor. Like the Sister Sayeda just said, I'm really excited to read this book, so I can't wait. And again, thank you guys so much for hosting this.
Thank you for joining us and welcome. Please feel free again to get more involved. I know you probably have a lot on your plate and you're in touch with our members, but if there's anything that interested you tonight as a law student on our advocacy committee or otherwise, please, feel free to get involved. And I see a Sister Amira.
Hi everyone, assalamu alaikum. I was kind of wasting time at work one day on LinkedIn, and I saw the Big Law Partner one, so I just randomly went to it. I think one of the nice things about COVID is you can just go to these things. So I randomly went, and I thought it was amazing. I'm currently a mid-level associate at a firm, and I'm always looking for Muslim partners, and it's so hard to find them. So have 4 kind of speak candidly was really great. So then I think I signed up, and that's how I ended up here. So it's nice to meet you all. Yeah, it's always nice to see more familiar faces and names. I feel like at my firm, there's only one other Muslim, and there's 600 people. So great to be around you guys, and I thought this was a great conversation.
What state are you based in, sister?
I'm in Illinois. Yeah, but my firm is actually headquartered in Wisconsin, so it's been very interesting having conversations about Muslims and Indians and things like that in rural Wisconsin. But yeah.
That's great, mashallah. Are you linked into our law firm network yet?
I don't think so. I feel like you mentioned that. So I will get a hold of that. I've been getting a lot of one-off questions from Muslim law students, and I always try to help them. But I think knowing that you guys have a mentoring community is really great, because I've had a few conversations now with 1Ls, 2Ls, and I think I always just give them informal advice, but I think sending them here would be an excellent resource.
Yeah, you can send them our way. We'll take care of them.
Yeah, so this is super exciting.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm really excited to get you involved in our law firm network. I'll just text you privately, and I'll introduce you to that chair he's not able to make it tonight, but he'd love to have you on board.
And I have not been cold called in years, so thank you for that.
Thanks. Thank you so much. Welcome.
Thanks.
And I see,
I'm going to jump ahead of this.
Thank you so much.
There we go.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. My name is Masuma, based in Chicago. Inshallah, I'll be starting law school in the fall. So a friend of mine told me about AMBA. I actually heard about AMBA last year when I was still making my decision. And so I attended one of the meetings, talked to some people, and that was really influential for me as well. So I'm really excited about the work that everyone here is doing. All the committees sound really fantastic. And I myself am really looking forward to getting more involved on a lot of the issues in the committees that were mentioned. And and I'm also really excited for that book that's coming out soon. And thank you for holding this GBM.
Thank you for coming.
Who's next on your radar, Salma?
I see a sister Fiza Reza. Maybe she stepped away. Inshallah, I'll call somebody I know, Sister Zainab. Zainab, how's it going? Thanks so much for joining. I'd love for everybody to meet you.
Everyone. My name is Zainab Hamdan, and I've had the pleasure of speaking to Salma, and I've attended a prior AMBA event. And I'm so grateful that you did this. This was really amazing, and I've already pre-ordered my copy. I'm an assistant law clerk in surrogate's court in Kings County, so I work for a judge who does probate, trusts, and estates. And this was a much needed community, and I'm glad we have it. And hopefully we'll be more involved in the future.
Inshallah. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to see you, and inshallah, I hope we have some New York sisters here, Aruj and Kulsum. So yeah, maybe you guys can link up, inshallah, in the future in person.
Inshallah.
And Sister Homa Batul Sayed, would love to meet you.
Hey, assalamu alaikum, Sister Selma. My name is Homa Batul Sayed. Thank you for hosting this. It's my first general body meeting. I think I've been working with a couple of you guys through some of the SFSR and joint AMBA initiatives for Shia rights in Pakistan and abroad. I've had a pleasure with working with you, Brother Muhammad Ali, Sister Insia, Sister Uruj, and it's a wonderful team. For those of you guys, it's your first time attending. I think the future is really promising, really interested in learning more, and really happy to hear about all the committees and all the great work that you guys are doing. So thanks for hosting this. Looking forward for future collaboration.
Thanks, Batul.
Sorry, I'm not putting on my camera because I am driving. So
Thank you so much for joining us. I didn't realize your first name was Homa.
It's Homa Batul, yeah.
I didn't know, yeah, so thanks, Batul, for joining us. Appreciate
No
it.
worries. No worries.
And Sister Catherine.
Assalamualaikum, y'all. I'm Kat. Sorry, let me just turn on my camera or slide it. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see me. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm currently at the Bronx Defenders. I do public defense, specifically family defense. And this is like my second meeting. I've been like very MIA, but inshallah, I'll be able to just be more participant and stuff. So I'm excited to join. I am a revert, and actually Zainab and I went to the same law school. She's like a year ahead of me. So yeah.
Cool. That's great. Welcome. That's awesome. And I'm assuming you know Kulsum and Aruj, or have you met each other?
Probably from like the first meeting, but like I haven't been involved as much lately.
Oh yeah, you guys have to have an AMBA Brooklynite women's get down.
Inshallah. Let's do it.
Inshallah. Nice. Thank you so much for joining us. Sister Aisha Khadija.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. Yes, Sylvia, my name. Yes. Glad to meet you all. And also my second time, I believe, in this meeting. The first time was, I believe, remember, a meeting related to how the work that you were doing, helping people to get again into the society, I believe. Was very nice to know about you, about the work every one of you realize. I am not from United States, I'm from South America. I'm not a lawyer, I am industrial engineer. But for me, it's very glad to know all kind of information and also glad to participate. And also if something is needed from me, my specialization is strategist management. So if someone needs something related to that area, I am glad to share.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for joining, mashallah. So
Can I ask where in South America you're from?
What country?
Yeah.
Peru.
Peru, mashallah.
Yes.
mashallah, welcome. Thanks so much for joining us. My parents spent 8 years in Peru, so
wow.
It's nice to see, you know, other Muslims
Thanks so much.
from Peru. Wow, mashallah. So yeah, inshallah, I think you know, most people had to left who are new, and at least they got a taste of what we do and can join our committees. And now we'll inshallah we'll end this general body meeting and move over to our executive leadership meeting. So thank you, general body members, for joining, and inshallah we'll end maybe with a closing dua. Muhammad Ali, did you want to close this out?
Absolutely. Close out with Surah Fatiha. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'een. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. صلوات.
Thank you all so much. Happy Rajab and happy Black History Month. Inshallah, we'll see you all at our next general body meeting, inshallah.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.